Forget everything you've heard about Meghan Markle, because this story isn't about rumors, headlines, or social media drama. It's about dates, documents, business deals, and a timeline that has raised serious questions. Over the next few minutes, we'll examine public filings, trademark records, corporate announcements, and major partnership changes that unfolded over several years. When viewed individually, each event may seem ordinary. But when placed in chronological order, they paint a far more complex picture of how one high-profile brand evolved under intense public scrutiny. Why did major business relationships change? What role did branding decisions, commercial strategy, and public reporting play? And why do some public accounts appear to conflict with one another? This documentary follows the documented timeline step by step, comparing public records with reported developments to explore how these events unfolded. By the end, you'll have the full sequence and can decide for yourself what the timeline suggests. Let's begin where the paper trail starts. Forget the headlines. We found a trademark filing from September 2024 that changes the entire financial timeline of this story. Here's what that filing actually says. The United States Patent and Trademark Office rejected Meghan Markle's application to register American Riviera Orchard, not over paperwork, but because the name refers to a real geographic location. You can't trademark a place. So an entire commercial brand, jams, wine, teas, every product line operated for months with zero legal protection, no registration, no coverage, none. Hold that fact, because by the time we reach the audit at minute 18, you'll see exactly how that one rejection connects to a Netflix contract downgrade. A Hollywood agency that may have been claiming a relationship it wasn't actually maintaining, and an Oprah Winfrey appearance where two specific names were missing from a list they should have been on. This isn't a story about friendship. It's a story about paperwork, filings, contracts, dates that don't match public statements. And by the end, you'll understand something nobody else has mapped. The exact sequence in which every commercial relationship around Meghan Markle collapsed, and why the order matters more than the outcome. We're not telling you what we feel. We're showing you what's filed. Catastrophically bad things are going for Harry and Meghan. Archewell is essentially done. Any aspect of their charity has essentially collapsed completely, and it's been revealed for what it really always was, which is a publicity stunt. So, why does this matter right now in 2026? Because in May 2025, two outlets, Page 6 and the Daily Mail, published contradictory accounts of the same relationship, same week. Nobody has reconciled them since. Page 6 sourcing said Meghan Markle's relationship with former British Vogue editor Edward Enninfold remained warm and respectful, even after a cover dispute, with the two exchanging birthday wishes and flowers. The Daily Mail sourcing same week said the two are no longer on speaking terms. Wait, which one is it? Both statements can't be true at the same time. One is wrong. Neither side has corrected the record. Here's the pattern we're tracking for the next 20 minutes.
Not did they fall out.
We already know relationships ended. The question is, what do the actual filings, statements, and dated records say, and where do they contradict the narrative everyone already accepted? Because this isn't about friendship anymore. It's about whether companies, Netflix, Spotify, a major talent agency, made financial decisions based on information that turned out to be inaccurate. And when that happens, contract law has a name for it. We'll get there at minute 18.
For now.
Here's the math in one sentence. Every company on this list entered a financial relationship with Meghan Markle. Every single one exited, and the exits line up in sequence with dated events nobody has connected until now. Revelation 1. The Vogue cover contradiction in 2022. Edward Enninfold, then editor and chief of British Vogue, was reportedly planning a September cover featuring Meghan Markle's charity work and her keynote at the One Young World Summit. The cover went to Linda Evangelista instead. Here's where it gets documented. A Page 6 source claims Meghan wanted what's described as a global cover placement on both the British and American editions. The same source says she requested a Zoom call with Anna Wintour to lobby personally for the US cover already booked for Serena Williams. Wintour reportedly took the call to be polite. Request declined. Now a different source, same outlet, same reporting cycle, claims Meghan has never sought a Vogue cover at all. Wait, what? One source describes a specific dated lobbying call with a named executive. Another source from the identical publication flatly denies the entire premise exists. This isn't a tabloid versus a denial. This is two sources inside one reporting chain contradicting each other on a verifiable event. And the aftermath split the same way. Warm and respectful, says one outlet. No longer speaking, says another. Published days apart. Neither corrected. Eventful left British Vogue entirely in February 2025. The relationship status, whatever it actually is, has never been clarified by either side since. That's an unresolved contradiction. But it's not the most measurable one in this file. The next one isn't even a statement. It's an absence. They were completely and utterly willing to throw aside the people they were supposed to help. And now we have the situation where it's just artifice. It's just there for show. Meghan praises herself constantly for being this great humanitarian, but when you really think about it, what has she done? Revelation 2, The Omission, December 2025. Oprah Winfrey on her own podcast names her closest, longest-standing friends. Maria Shriver, Gayle King, her trainer Bob Greene, people she's known for decades. Meghan Markle isn't on the list. Prince Harry isn't on the list. No mention, no neutral aside, not even a passing. We stay in touch. On its own, that's nothing. People don't list every relationship every time they talk. But layer this against the rest of the record. Meghan Markle's 2025 birthday, a private event. The Instagram photo she posted shows no other faces, just her own. Oprah wasn't present. No acknowledgement from Oprah's side on that date.
None.
Hollywood insider Rob Shooter, who covers exactly this terrain, chose careful language. There's no feud, but it's clear the dynamics have shifted. Meghan is focused on her family and her work, and some people have moved on. Notice what he's doing. He's not alleging conflict. He's documenting absence. An absence, when it repeats this consistently across 2 consecutive years, is harder to dismiss than an accusation because there's no statement to argue with. You can deny a feud. You can't deny that your name wasn't said. One PR analyst flagged a separate, measurable point. When American Riviera Orchard launched, none of the celebrities Meghan had been publicly associated with for years posted about it. Not one. That's not a feeling. That's an absence of digital record. Exactly the kind of evidence an auditor looks for when a relationship's existence is being assumed rather than confirmed. If a missing name on a podcast list feels small to you, wait until you see what's missing from an actual federal trademark filing. That's next. And it's the detail that connects directly to the legal fallout we're covering in 5 minutes. I'm firstly grateful to them because they pushed the book up to #1 on Amazon, and secondly, I'm not surprised. I mean, for them, any criticism is always poisonous and damaging, and particularly from me. But I can assure you it's very well sourced, and it's true. I mean, that's the point. It is actually unfortunately true at the time. Revelation 3. The trademark that never existed. September 2024. The U.S. Patent and Trademark Office formally rejects Meghan Markle's application to register American Riviera Orchard. The legal basis is specific. The name references an actual geographic location, Montecito, California, and trademark law doesn't permit registering a place name as a brand identifier. Sit with that for a second. This wasn't a stylistic objection. This wasn't "we don't like the font." This was a federal agency stating in formal terms that the entire commercial identity of the brand was structurally unregisterable. Here's why that matters more than people realize. From public launch through to the rejection, every product, jam, wine, tea, honey, sold under a name with no trademark protection. Legally, any competitor could have used the identical name during that window. No infringement claim available to stop them. The rebrand to As Ever arrived in February 2025, 5 months after the federal rejection. Every piece of mainstream coverage at the time described that rebrand as a creative refresh, a maturing of the brand. Nobody connected the 5-month gap to the Trademark Office's decision. That gap isn't a coincidence. That's a legal team responding to a federal rejection and rebuilding a brand identity from zero. While the public narrative called it artistic evolution, if a five-month legal scramble disguised as a rebrand seems significant, wait until you see the legal fallout coming up in 5 minutes. Because this exact pattern, public explanation, private legal reality, repeats twice more with Netflix and with a talent agency that may have been claiming a relationship it wasn't actually providing. Revelation 4. The Representation Gap. April 2023. Meghan Markle signs with William Morris Endeavor. Ari Emanuel's agency. The same agency representing Oprah Winfrey, Mark Wahlberg, Dwayne Johnson. Here's the documented timeline. Multiple sources confirm no meeting occurred between Markle and Emanuel personally after January 2023, 3 months before the deal was even formally announced. One insider stated plainly, "Mom is definitely not working on Meghan's personal business." Another confirmed Ari was done with her. Mo's public statement issued to media. Mo continues to represent Meghan and Arkewell. Two contradictory positions. One says active representation. Multiple sources say no executive engagement for over a year. Total silence on one side, a press release on the other. This matters specifically because Dewey's described function per industry insiders was acting as a shield against negative press, using institutional weight to keep unflattering stories from running. One Hollywood insider put it directly. There is no way that the Variety piece about her fallout with Netflix would have run if Dutme was still looking after Meghan. The Variety piece on Netflix tensions published after the period sources confirm Emanuel had disengaged. The shield, if it ever existed, wasn't operating anymore, and the negative coverage cycle that followed lines up with that gap almost exactly.
The math
fails every time. Revelation 5. The staff exit sequence. 18 senior staff members departed the Sussex organization since 2018. Let's look at the most recent cluster because the dates are the evidence here. Josh Kettler, Chief of Staff, resigned after 3 months, August 2024. Stated reason, per reporting, there were aspects of the job he wasn't comfortable with. Meredith Main's Chief Communications Officer resigned December 26, 2025. Started the role in March that year. Total tenure roughly 9 months. James Holt, Executive Director of Arul, resigned December 29, 2025, 3 days after Main's royal photographer Helena Shard's assessment. A communication strategy only works if all parties adhere to the plan. Read that precisely. She's not describing a failed strategy. She's describing a strategy the principal wasn't following. Two of the most senior operational roles in the entire organization, communications and foundation leadership, vacated within 72 hours of each other. Same calendar year, same final week. That's not a staffing inconsistency. That's a structural failure occurring at the exact top of the organizational chart twice in 1 week. You probably remember this as another resignation. Look at the date gap again. 3 days. Let's lay out the professional fallout currently employed in Prince William's office. Josh Kettler resigned as Chief of Staff after 3 months, August 2024. Meredith Maines resigned as Chief Communications Officer December 26, 2025 after roughly 9 months. James Holt resigned as Executive Director of Arul December 29, 2025, 3 days after Maine's Ari Emanuel/WME no confirmed executive-level meeting since January 2023 per multiple sources, while the AY's public statement maintained active representation throughout. Netflix production deal downgraded to first-look status by summer 2025 equity position and as ever exited during 2025. Full content deal expired without renewal. July 2025. Spotify $20 million. 3-year agreement terminated June 2023 after 13 produced episodes. Look at the totals. 18+ senior staff. 2 major media contracts. 1 agency relationship with disputed status. 1 federally rejected. Trademark. 1 British fashion institution relationship with 2 contradictory public accounts of its current state. None of these are isolated when you list them in sequence like this. This is a pattern. Structural disengagement repeating across every category, staff, media, brand, representation inside 1 4-year window. Breaking today, the implosion of the Sussexes. Meghan Markle's Archewell charity scam, and as ever lies have finally been exposed. An astonishing double blow. Now, here's the payoff. Here's why that trademark filing we opened with actually matters legally. When the auto-rejected American Riviera Orchard in September 2024 on geographic grounds, every sale made under that brand name, every jar, every bottle occurred without trademark protection. In commercial law, that's exposure. Any third party could have legally used an identical or similar name during that window. No infringement claim available because there was no registered mark to infringe. The brand operated commercially in a state of unprotected legal exposure for an undetermined length of time before the February 2025 correction. Now look at the Netflix sequence again. Same lens. Contract law, not narrative. A first-look deal, the category the arrangement was downgraded to by summer 2025, typically grants a studio right of first refusal on future pitches. No guaranteed production slots, no minimum spend, no release schedule. That's a materially smaller contractual category than the original 2020 arrangement, reported around $100 million with multiple guaranteed productions. 3 commercial instruments withdrawn from the same company. Same general window. The content deal downgraded. The equity stake in as ever exited. The relationship allowed to lapse entirely by July 2025. That's not one company losing interest. That's one company systematically reducing exposure across 3 separate financial instruments in sequence over roughly 12 months. Here's the term that applies when a company makes financial decisions based on representations that later prove inaccurate material misrepresentation. Standard term in commercial and contract law. When one party enters or maintains an agreement based on information from the other party that turns out not to reflect reality, the agreement itself becomes vulnerable to renegotiation, reduced scope, or termination. We're not claiming a court-actionable misrepresentation occurred. We're stating the documented pattern. A brand with no trademark protection, an agency relationship with 2 contradictory public accounts of its own status, a media contract shrinking 3 separate times in 1 calendar window. Stack those 3 facts. The financial outcome stops being surprising. It becomes predictable. Here's the calculation, not an opinion. A calculation. 1 trademark structurally invalid for at least 5 months before correction. 1 agency relationship with no confirmed executive contact for over a year while public statements claimed otherwise. 1 media contract downgraded across 3 separate instruments inside 12 months. 1 18-plus person staff exodus that includes 2 senior operational roles vacating within 72 hours of each other. 4 categories, 4 structural failures, same 4-year window. That's not a string of unrelated misfortunes. That's the mathematical signature of one organization losing operational control across every category that generates revenue or maintains reputation simultaneously. So, here's the question I'll leave you with. I want an answer, not a reaction. If WME's public statement said representation was active and multiple independent sources confirm no executive contact since January 2023, which statement came first, and why does the timing matter? Because in business, when a public claim of an active relationship outlives the relationship itself, that gap serves a purpose. It buys time. It preserves leverage in other negotiations. It keeps a brand's perceived market value intact while the underlying support's already gone. We've read the filings, the resignations, the contradicting source statements side by side. The dates don't lie, even when the statements do. Tell me your theory below. Specifically, which came first, the silence or the statement claiming there wasn't?